Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Beyond the Summer presentation of the Kiev Major Southeast Asian Qualifiers. Here we've got ourselves a matchup of Clutch Gamers versus Execration here in the sixth, I believe, heat of the group stage here, round robin. Coming at you guys. We've had some very interesting Dota 2 so far, and this game looks to be much of the same. Here I am, Blaze, joined by none other than Professor Nahaz. How's it going, man?
It's going great, and yeah, the games have absolutely flown by, and this is a really crucial matchup. Both these teams sitting at 1-1 here so far in round robin group stage play. Clutch Gamers, of course, opened with that really toughest of matchups against Faceless. Were dismissed pretty easily, but then came back and won their last match against what was that, TNC? No. What was
That
it?
was Geek Fam.
Oh, it was Geek Fam. Yeah, okay. We just did that game. My goodness, my age is showing here. But then Execration, of course, also split its games. We're in a little bit of a strange affair. It was Execration I was thinking of. It had a little bit of a strange game against TNC earlier, where they had an 18-3 kill lead at 35 minutes and still kind of barely hung on and won in a very extended affair. But this is very, very typical open here for Clutch Gamers. They love their either Crystal Maiden or Disruptor first phase, and then of course locking down that offlaner, as we have seen a lot of the bans so far in the SEA games concentrated on the offlane. Execration opening up with the Rubik is something that we've seen more and more in SEA in China, and it's spread to other regions as well.
Yeah, so I think that's going to give them a nice versatile opening, but at the same time you see kind of this combo of the Darkseer Disruptor. Last game we got to see a little bit of Underlord Disruptor, which was pretty solid, but the Darkseer Disruptor goes even further back just because those heroes have been in the game longer and does create a lot of potential for combos. I mean, there are some games that are won or lost on a vacuum comboed into a kinetic or a static storm, so we're looking forward to that. In the end, though, they're going to go for another all-around hero pick. Like, Rubik can work in just about any game because, at the very least, even if your spell steal options are bad, that means that the other enemy doesn't have very scary spells. And now the Juggernaut, who can fit into almost any lineup and work out pretty well here. It's nothing really to speak of. Like, there's nothing clear yet of what this lineup is intending to do, but they can handle about anything. And one thing that the SEA teams like to do is just simply spin on a creep wave that's double Ion Shelled and make it so the Darkseer doesn't get too easy of a start.
Right. That was going to be my only kind of nit to pick so far in the draft, is that I feel like Juggernaut has lost a lot of his value as a first phase pick with his kind of falling out of favor as a mid hero, right?
Yeah.
We're seeing Juggernaut now almost exclusively run as a safe laner again. And I felt like Juggernaut was very, very viable as a first phase pick when you saw him frequently run mid, when you saw him even occasionally, you think back to General running him as an off laner. I thought he was certainly very valuable as a first phase pickup. Right now, I feel like Execration a little bit more limited in where they can go here going into the second phase of the draft relative to Clutch Gamers. And it's also, you look at more and more of these SEA draft and off laners are getting banned a lot. I like picking up my off laner relatively early on. I want to see them go for that with the third pick.
In fact, I'm very surprised that Clutch Gamers didn't exploit that a little further. They already opened with a Centaur Slardar ban. They picked up their Darkseer in first phase, so they could easily ban out two more offlaners and make it very difficult for Execration to kind of decide what they want to go with for DJ. I feel like AoE control has been the name of the game throughout this qualifier so far, and just being able to ban out a few more heroes, at least the Axe or something, would have been quite potent. But maybe Nyx Assassin will be the pickup here for Execration. I think it offers a lot against a lot of what you're seeing already. In general, though, Execration taking through reserve time and maybe thinking about just getting the secondary support to deny it from Clutch.
Yeah, I mean, looking back through the drafts, Execration pretty much following the pattern of a lot of teams where they're prioritizing picking up the offlaner early. A little bit puzzling to see them go this way with the Juggernaut. Maybe they have something a little bit different in mind. The Meepo ban is also a little bit weird. I don't really think of Clutch as a team that's run Meepo. And looking back through their drafts, I haven't seen a lot of that. Now banning the Earth Spirit, though, I will say makes a lot of sense. Now that you're probably going to see DJ on that Rubik, Earth Spirit would be something that they're no longer going to pick up because DJ is not going to play it. So
DJ played Centaur the previous game, so I'm not sure.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. I forget about his. I'm still in last year mode, thinking about him as on the greedy fours. But no, he is has been run a bit more of the 3-4 hybrid role here.
Yeah. So we'll see if they can get a hero that can kind of fit his playstyle. But at least for now, taking out the Earth Spirit seems just important because Obviously, Clutch
Yeah,
is looking for your de facto roaming melee aggressor that can be coincide with the Darkseer really well. So
and you don't want to have to deal with that magnetized ion shell combo. That damage over time is just ridiculous.
yeah. So I mean, you still have a few options as a pool. Spirit Breaker Pudge, I have all comboed up with the Darkseer to an extent. But otherwise, I'm gonna go with the Sand King at least for
Yeah.
now. Seen a lot of him recently, actually, but mostly as a support. But that's mostly just Rodgay's specialty, and I definitely think that this hero does offer a little bit more of the versatility you're looking for. That being said, with Darkseer already pretty clearly in the offlane role, this does mean that it's going to be more just wombo combo support action between the Disruptor and the Sand King.
Right. Again, you're really showing your hand in that pick, and whoa. Okay. Actually, that makes me like the Juggernaut pick a little bit more. I think Execration had a bit of a plan, as I was hoping, with that Magnus pick. You think this is probably going to be DJ's hero now?
Yeah, I think it's
Okay.
a pretty solid offlaner. You do have to worry about the glimpse, but that's probably true for any hero that's
Exactly.
left in the pool. So at the worst case, you do a little bit of power farming in the jungle, and you just kind of do what you need to do. So I would say that the laning phase can be a little dicey for him, but it's gonna mean that his mid and late game are more pronounced. And power, obviously, heavy synergy with the Juggernaut, who's already got a very low BAT. It just needs a little bit more oomph in terms of damage, and the cleave never hurts either. So between the fact that you can most likely steal one good spell from Disruptor or Sand King and combo that up with the Magnus, I feel like they have a lot of keys to the game now and a lot of ways to make these fights happen. So very excited about this pick. I think it could be a game changer.
I'm glad you went in that direction because that's exactly what I was thinking. That I think the Magnus is really important in terms of being an enabler for the Rubik. You just picked OD and snipers still in the pool though.
Yeah, I mean that definitely is kind of the classic answer. Some teams don't bother with it, but obviously more and more we've been seeing it. It was banned out the last time we got to see the OD, and they ended up going with a Razor to counterpick. So
which I really liked. I thought that, and you saw the Razor sort of forced them to switch the lone druid into mid, who still got pretty heavily punished, but did okay, better than I think the OD would have done. But yeah, I mean they're just in the Western meta, right? It's like if you pick OD and sniper still in the pool, it's almost like the other team just click. It's not even thinking. But yeah, it's a matter of whether Execration has practiced with that particular hero.
Yeah, if they're comfortable with it and if it fits their overall game plan here, obviously then they'd have to get a really good defensive support to keep him comfortable when heroes like Sand King start jumping him. But
yeah, they haven't run it. I'm searching through some of their picks over the last 3 months. They have not run it at all, and they're going to go a different direction because of that.
Very interesting. So obviously there are two different options now. The Nyx and Magnus are both in the pool. Either you're looking at a mid Magnus, which would most likely struggle quite a bit against the OD.
Oh, this could easily be a mid Nyx. That's an interesting concept.
And even a support Nyx is still technically an option as well. So that's 3 different ways. You can run the Nyx in 3 different capacities, run the Magnus in 2. So you're looking for versatility in the draft, and you found it now. Beyond that, it's just a really strong pick in the mana burn mechanic. OD and Darkseer having extremely high intelligence pools and being able to chew into that pretty early on. For some reason, it's coming to mind that the value of this potential for Aghanims on Nyx Assassin is really high here as well.
Oh, yes.
Just because, like, if you could chain stun with your Impale, your Burrow, and into Carapace, and then keep the mana burns rolling all the while, I just think there's so much potential value to be had. So I do hope the Nyx gets some degree of farm to this point. All these heroes are going to do great with farm. Even the Rubik with a dagger or a Force Staff could be pretty solid. But in particular, I think if the Nyx isn't playing like a very ghetto version of the hero, I think that there can be a lot of potential.
So you really do think? I just feel like mid Magnus is so questionable.
Oh,
I feel like this last pick has got to either be a mid or a support.
I'd agree with that. I think that it's definitely possible,
And,
but
and you can see like you could see Clutch Gamers, even though it's a. I was just looking at this, right. Execration is actually 1-7 in their last 8 matches picking Shadow Fiend, because that immediately made me think of that hero, and Clutch Gamers does value it enough to ban it, even though Execration struggled a little bit.
okay. So the sniper you talked about, the Razor I mentioned, those are both possible answers here if they're looking for the mid option, which I do agree Magnus does not seem to be the hero he used to be in that capacity anymore. I don't very much recommend running that, especially against some more experienced players. Clutch have run a lot of OD. They're very comfortable using it, and I'm sure you can go a support to punish that, either on Undying or a Pudge or something that can really just make it impossible for you to get close to the lane. So I definitely think that they're looking for a ranged mid laner at this point in
Yeah.
time, and we'll see as the clock ticks down what they go with.
Yeah, I like my sniper razor. I mean, Queen is an option, but okay, they're gonna go. All right, all right.
Mm.
I'm down with that. I'm down with that. You sound like you're a little less of a fan.
I mean, I love Puck, and I think that he can do a lot, but like, you don't even know what carry you're up against. Like, are you kiting somebody? Do you know? Like, it's just like I feel like Puck is great when he's counteracting a spell-dependent carry, like an anti-mage or a weaver or something, by blink initiating with silence, or by kiting a very kiteable melee hero like a Sven or an Ursa with the Dream Coil.
Right.
By not knowing what you're up against and probably just going up against a range hero, it's going to be the Void. I feel like you put yourself out there as it's a hero that might not accomplish what you intended to.
I think that to me the Puck pick is all about player preference. It's all about your captain turns to the mid player and says, "Hey, what do you want to play in this situation?" Because obviously, it's great to say that the meta pick is sniper as the counter to OD, but your mid laner has to be comfortable making things happen with whatever hero you choose. I mean, that was the classic problem that we saw again in the last game was that the Razor was able to win that matchup against the Lone Druid fairly convincingly in the early game, but they really weren't able to capitalize on that advantage as the game went on.
Yeah, most definitely. So, going to be the Faceless Void for the last pick here for Clutch Gamers. So, kind of putting themselves in a similar position as they were in the previous game, where they have some really good late game potential and some really good control options, but they still have to execute well in fights in the meantime. They can't just farm this game out. They have to really, really focus on making sure that they use their ultimate cooldowns effectively and get in the face of their opposition.
It's just, I mean, I'm going to start sounding like a broken record, breaking down a lot of these games over the next few days because it's just, it feels like so many of them are just all going to be about initiation and tempo.
For sure.
Whichever team gets the initiation off is usually going to have the advantage. And the way I see the meta moving more and more recently, it's just about being able to play faster than the other team, being able to get your stuff online and start pressuring that other side of the map. It sounds simple, but that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, most definitely. So at least for right now, I think the laning should be pretty clear cut.
Yeah.
The Juggernaut is generally pretty strong against the Darkseer, but they have limited kill potential against him. Like they have to go for a really heavy surround between the Windlace Nyx and the Rubik and be able to pretty much completely outman him in order for them to find a pickoff on the Darkseer. Otherwise, he farms up slowly but surely.
Yeah, but it's fine, right? The nightmare scenario that you've been seeing with a lot of these SAE teams, and I really like the development in this region. I feel like the offlane play has really come along over the last cycle. Is you're seeing these dual lanes get run around a Darkseer where Darkseer +1 is actually able to bully the safe laner and make him just constantly be last hitting under the tower. I feel like that's not going to happen here.
I feel like that's Shrine Dota, honestly. Like,
it absolutely is.
Just the fact that you can get a full free health and mana bar out of that. Actually, Bounty Rune picked up by the Void, and Magnus now in a bit of an awkward spot with no skewer.
Okay, let's not be too dumb here. Come on. There you go.
Tries for it, doesn't work out.
That was really when he did that skewer over the Bounty Rune, I was just like,
you gotta go for it. You miss every shot you don't take, so I can appreciate the endeavor, but all the same here, not too much gonna happen for the moment here. Magnus is probably your most likely first blood if we're just being realistic here. It just comes down to how the Sand King chooses to move, and right now he's got a Windlace and he's got a TP scroll.
Darkseer, you got Surge. Yeah, you're fine.
Yeah.
Wow.
You got to wait out the stuns is the big thing here. If you get
Yes.
telekinesis during Surge, then it's pretty much pointless.
So, are you surprised that they're now that the Darkseer dual lane is no longer in play? Are you surprised that they're sticking with the tri lane here down bottom? How early do you rotate out of this? I guess is the question.
It does get a little bit awkward because the more you pull, the more Darkseer can just double Iron Shell and push out under tower, and it makes Gabby's life a little bit more difficult. But all in all, as long as they keep good control over the lane and are also able to make sure that Gabby's farming comfortably, then I think they're fine until like level 3 when they want to definitely start putting more pressure on the OD.
Yeah, early on, it's not, through a couple waves, not exactly a disaster scenario for the Puck here. You worry about Puck potentially just going down to the OD so much early on in lane.
Mm-hmm. A little bit vulnerable to do so, but Boombax has the potential to kind of man up as well with that Iron Shell. Yeah. Hopefully you get a Dark Circle at level 3, and then you are able to go in and just bully your way in with the Wind Lace, with the Burrow Strike. You can close the gap, and then you just hope you do enough damage to bring them down first.
Look at this Boomback's rotation. Is he going to try and come in here behind the puck?
And if Nando is using his orb to farm, that is very realistic.
Yes.
That is a good possibility. But if he's being conservative about it, then there's no way they're going to find that kill.
Yeah, he's got to know that Sand King's off the map right here.
Oh, this is ugly. This is ugly. Burrow.
He does it, and they know right away.
He has to jaunt.
Wow,
There's no actual way to do
yeah.
it any other way. In the end, still going to be first bullet split between the Sand King and the OD, and I'm almost positive you got the experience for that too.
Yep.
In fact, yes, he's up to 300 experience per minute at this stage of the game, so he's doing pretty well.
Yeah.
So pretty awkward read on that situation. He probably thought maybe the Sand King's jungling. Very common for just when you have such a weak offlaner like Magnus, it's very easy for the Disruptor to solo zone and for the Sand King to get a bit greedy. But
yeah, I saw it. It was a little puzzling to me because I thought they had vision over. Oh, okay, that is a dire ward. Sure. All right, that makes a lot more sense. I thought Radiant had vision over which direction the Sand King left the lane from. Okay. No, so that that kind of adds up as the dire side now. You got yourself a little comfortable CS pad. Although 8 denies in the mid lane for a puck is pretty good. He's giving as good as he gets. Apart from that first blood, he's doing very well in this mid lane against an OD.
Yeah, and I think that's probably why he was so susceptible to the gank, because you have to have so much focus in this lane matchup. You have to just make every creep count. You can't let anything slide by. You really just have to kind of have a laser focus on this part of the map and nothing else. So. In the end, still doing all right for himself here in the mid lane. He gets his bottle at a decent time. It just gives Sand King a nice little start here. As he's essentially the offlaner and Hannah's in the jungle. I want to take note, though, of the item in DJ's Quick Buy. I have never seen a Helmet Dominator Magnus, but I don't mind the idea.
Oh, HOD is the new drums, man. HOD is literally not a bad item on any hero. If you look at what you're getting, you compare HOD to other comparable value items, like you compare HOD to drums, to mech, to Vlad's, like it's so much better right now.
Absolutely. And you start off with a nice little like ring of regen or headdress, and you just give yourself a better lane start. It's like one of the best first items to pick up in almost any context. So
yeah, that's the other thing that we don't talk enough about with these 2 to 3K range items is the build up is super important, and with the headdress aura early on, that's a big buff to the item.
Yeah, because in this position you're not worried about pushing out the waves. You're shockwaving it down anyways whenever the creep wave comes to you, so you're just happy to stay alive and stay active.
No, I don't think either team is really unhappy with how things have gone so far, even with the first blood being given up by Nando in the mid lane.
Yeah, I'd say that's probably fair. I mean, right now, the Darkseer is getting himself in a good position to start getting more active than he was before. Disruptor maybe hasn't been pulling as actively as he could have, whereas he's kind of like under-farmed at this stage. He gets the Flying Courier, he gets the boots, and hopefully can get a lot more from there. But yeah, overall, I think everybody's doing just peach.
Yeah, but he's going to have that level advantage over the 2 Radiant side supports that have both been down here in that tri lane. The onus is on them to get something done here. I don't think they can afford to just stay static. And I don't at the same time, I don't know what this mid lane rotation here is going to accomplish.
Well, if they can kind of just get a good opening with the Dream Coil, which should be coming out with this wave as long as they don't soak it, then they still have an opportunity here. But it is kind of limited unless the OD is wasting his Imprison. It's just one of those things where you just have to be patient about it. I think this isn't the kind of rotation you make, and you sit here for 30 seconds, get fed up, and walk away. This is you can
exactly, and that's the kind of thing. That's why I'm a little concerned. That's the kind of thing that's disastrous for your 2 supports that are both sitting on level 3 at 6 minutes. And yeah,
the Observer Ward in mid sees the Nyx Assassin, so there's absolutely no way. They even have the Sand King sitting behind just in case.
And meanwhile, your Juggernaut now is getting solo XP out of this lane, but he's getting pushed back halfway to his own tier 2 tower here by the Ion Shell. Yeah.
And in the meantime, we see Faceless Void getting pretty much free farm here. He's going to be going for a Dominator of his own. And just that attack speed alone and the fact that you can put the creep in the Chronosphere is really strong. We're going to see that combo on mid here. Nice little Burrow Strike and nice actual Waning Rift coming out, putting a lot of damage on both the OD and Sand King. But it's going to be the Dire to trump this one as they go 3-0.
Wow.
And it looks like even Puck won't be able to clean up the job. He gets a regen rune,
Yeah,
but
he's got to be careful. That's just a disaster scenario for the two Radiant supports. Going to put them even farther behind than they already were in the game.
and they shrine right back up. It's like it never happened.
Yeah, that's impossible to overstate just how impactful that change has been. And even we'll talk, I'm sure, as the game goes on. The value of the tier 3 towers now is so much greater now with that change to the shrine.
Oh, Omni Slash comes out. Needs a little bit more time on the spin. That surge gonna allow Hannah to just head back over to his own shrine and take a bath.
Take a bath, huh? Is that the line now? All right.
Something
All right,
along those lines.
I'm down.
Lumi prefers to shower with his for teammates, but I don't feel as good about that one.
Wow. I try not to shower with my teammates. We're just going to leave that there.
From there, we got, I mean, nobody's getting blinks anytime soon, right? Like, that's the awkward thing about this laning stage. Just, like, the progression is kind of slow. Everybody's just kind of doing their thing. The only ones that are getting farm are obviously the ones that are being prioritized. Void's doing really well for himself.
Yeah, but look at this now. This is really, really good by Clutch Gaming to try and pick on the two underleveled Radiant side supports. Even with the Juggernaut here, not clear that it's going to be enough to save him.
Actually going to be the spin that almost finishes off Boombast, but he is going to be able to get the magic stick and end up being right-clicked down at the end, but that gives plenty of time for Hannah to pick up a double kill here on those supports and make it a very worthy exchange.
Yeah. That is Dota 101, man. You see a weakness on the other team and you just move to exploit it. Oh boy. I mean, support play is just almost linearly growing in importance throughout the last 6 or 7 iterations of the meta. You just can't afford to have your supports underleveled when you hit that 12 to 15 minute mark.
Especially a hero like Nyx Assassin. I've always felt like Nyx Assassin is one of those heroes that the faster he can go, the more resources you take away from your opponents. Because they have to get sentries earlier against the Vendetta. They have to bulk up more against your early burst damage. But this is a level 4 Nyx Assassin who's not going to get the tome because Rubik's already queued it up.
Yep.
And it just means that he's going to be doing very little in terms of initiation. He can follow up very nicely. Mana Burn's going to be strong this game, as we've mentioned, but actually going to be the quick kill on the Juggernaut. And
oh boy,
Clutch Gamers is just raking it in.
Yeah, that's the one thing that you absolutely could not afford to have happen.
And another one.
Oh boy.
Brutal. This is just really bad. At this point in time, you have 2 supports stuck at level 4 up against 3 level 8 opponents. And it's just going to get worse from there.
That's just lack of recognition. You know, you really ought to know where those heroes are at this point.
It's really tough for them for sure. But all the same, you have some comeback potential. You have this Magnus who's been in farming mode, but will have his RP online pretty soon.
But that's kind of the other issue is now you're stuck with underleveled supports, so they're going to need somebody to create for them, and your Magnus has gone first time HOD, so his Blink is going to not be online anytime soon. You got to ask, I mean, if they really are kind of all in right now on Nando getting that Blink up at a good time and making huge plays.
I mean, you don't need the Blink to get an initiation like this, though. They're going to be skewering in. They're going to be putting some damage, and it's an Invis rune. That will sneak them right away, no problem at all. It's going to be some silence action, even a courier. Stun coming out, but in the end, it's just going to be a few hits coming in from Abing, and a nice Burrow Strike across onto 2, bringing Rubik down once again. Now it's going to be the courier that gets hit pretty hardcore. There's an RP thrown across. But they're still doing way too much damage on the Dire side with these Iron Shells, with this Burrow Strike, and that's going to be the death of the Magnus, one of the big players here. Glimpse back onto Gabby, makes it a very good fight for the Dire as we see a 3-for-1 in total.
Yeah, Hana's just owning. Like, that was absolute ownage from the Darkseer over the last, 3 or 4
He's got
minutes
mech now.
Game. Yeah,
like, it's
good
like
Lord.
That laning phase didn't even bother him at all. Nando, nice little pick off here. One more hit and no restoratives for Fly Solo, but even still he has to pop the coil again just to try to get away from this one.
Yeah. The Disruptor pick off, that's fine. I think this game looks just grim for the Radiant side. I mean, they need... Nando's got about 200 more gold with a Blink Dagger, and they need him to do something special, period.
Yeah, I mean, Armel's got a Veil, Hana's got a mech. They just have all the items that they need at this point in time to just absolutely devastate. Even, I love this momentum build from the Void. Abing is going for his Shadow Blade after his Dominator. He's going to have so much natural attack speed. He's going to have his Bash maxed out, and he could just go on anybody.
Yeah, it fits so well. When you look at how that early veil pickup on the OD enables the 4 other heroes on the team, and you look at the fact that Darkseer's mech is now going to enable you just to sustain all over the map. You know, and even, you know, you add on top of it the fact that the Void gives some utility to the team push with his HOD aura. This is just what I meant earlier when I'm talking about just playing fast, your team tempo, just getting on that opponent's side of the map and never leaving.
Yeah, it's not about one hero snowballing here. It's about the team as a whole lifting each other up on their shoulders and moving forward extremely quickly.
Oh, no. Nando, you can't afford. He just got his Blink Dagger. This is the time that they have so much invested in making plays.
He might be able to get out of this one here. No Shrine to help him out, but just pops everything and is going to be able to
Does have to spend the Dream Coil to do that, but yeah, totally worthwhile. He couldn't afford to be off the map now.
Yeah, well, he's got the dagger. He'll be able to unveil that maybe with another Dream Coil. It's a short enough cooldown that he will be able to get that up and running very shortly. But yeah, this is just situations they can't let themselves get caught into.
Yeah, that's actually a really nice steal on Rubik to have, the Astral Prison.
Yeah, for sure. It's I mean, you can use it for farming if you really feel like it. You don't have the same spam ability because you don't have the aura, the passive from the OD himself, but it's still really strong defensively and offensively.
Man, oh man. I mean, there's just so much pressure on Nando here. I just don't see, other than him, I just don't see how they start a fight. Like their entire game plan right now revolves around the puck.
All right, and he is actually going to be queuing up a Dagon here, so really just looking for any kill he can get.
Yeah.
And kills being come back very rapidly when you're down this much in terms of net worth. So
yeah, that's the it's on me, guys. I got this kind of build. He understands. His team just needs him to go ham.
Well, we'll see how well that works out for them, as we do see it's going to be Boom Boss pushing out the bottom lane pretty heavily to get that Blink Dagger up soon, but Lumic trying to punish it with the Vendetta movement. The newer Vendetta having this longer duration, you can kind of just reach a little bit further. You can kind of just fish for these opportunities, and
it's a big quality of life improvement if you're playing Nyx in a pub, and more importantly, at this level of play, it makes it so that Nyx's angles into fights, his ganks are that much less obvious. You know, that was the problem before level 1 Vendetta, that they were always going to know where you're coming from. Now this is a nice little fight picked down.
Oh no, the Static Storm shuts down Magnus. Not going to be able to get the RP out at all. The mechanism counteracts a lot of the incoming damage, and they even get the bashes and the Centaur stop onto the Nyx. 5593 will live for once to tell the tale, but it's just been a rough ride for them. Perfect Static Storm from Fly Solo completely turns it around.
I feel like this all got started as the Omni Slash goes off in top lane. They might finally get a high value kill here on Ana. But they've got the lockdown. The Chrono comes in. Okay, well.
They do get him in the end. Nice little action there from the puck, but he has to go for another offensive jaunt and puts him in a rocky spot as the creep wave does see him. He does have the dagger, does not have the TP, at least for a little bit here. Let's see how long he can wait it out. And he should be good.
Puck is set. Okay, he's got the mana now. He's out of there.
So
nice guess by the Disruptor. Unfortunately,
they find themselves back in the game to a marginal extent. But
they got a ways to go yet. This is tough.
Yeah, I mean they already had that heavy loss down bottom, and they just get one little gimme to try to get them back in gear. But they still are very dependent on a lot of factors coming into play. Not fully convinced on like this. I guess third Arcane Boot's going to be coming out for Execration. I feel like while you do want to spam out Shockwave a lot for TJ, I think because you went for this Dominator build, you probably just need to go for the Blink straight after.
Blink, right. You have to have something to take the pressure off the puck. Because look at that. I mean, he's having to use this is the second time that he's had to use his coil in an effort to save himself, and there it doesn't even work. That's not his fault. That's just the other team knowing that they can afford to full commit on this puck because the other heroes. Right, exactly.
Brutal, but that's just the way the game is shaping up for right now. At least there aren't too many objectives being taken just yet. There are some pings coming out on the mid-tier ones, so that most likely will be falling shortly. But, I mean, as a whole, there is still some good wards coming up from Execration. It's just whether or not that will be enough to see 2 Invis heroes rotating in and just surrounding this tower and this key objective.
I think you really need to be prepared to concede some space on the map right now. You absolutely cannot get into a fight without Nando being in position and involved. Yeah, I think this is the right decision by Gabby here to try and kind of live on the other side of the map, get what farm he can, try and get back into this game somehow.
Tough spot all around, but we do see just this full smoke, this full aggression,
and now you're sitting in this position where Boombax has his blink before your Magnus.
Oh, and they have actually a great opportunity for a full combo. 4-man Qualifier with the epicenter, Static Storm, and Kinetic Field wiping them out, and that's going to be 4 heroes incinerated. It's going to be Juggernaut spinning away. He's not going to get wiped out, but what can you do to counterplay that when you just get the perfect execution from Clutch Gamers?
Yeah, that as they say is how you draw it up. That's absolutely perfect, Dota. It doesn't hurt, of course, to be out to this kind of lead, but that is one side's heroes having the tools that they need, and the other side not.
Just plain and simple, there's just completely outgunned at this point in time, and there's just no response. Tier 1 and 2 fall in the mid lane and just open it up. Very difficult to come back from. At this point, this is where you actually think about buying like an 18-minute Gem of True Sight, where you're you have like 3 Invis here, or two Invis heroes if you look at Sandstorm and Shadowblade, but just getting the full vision advantage and making it so that Execration don't know what's lurking around the corner, especially with nighttime upcoming here at 20 minutes, I think like you can just dominate the map.
And a disruptor on a team that's ahead with a vision advantage is just, it's one of the ultimate hard punishes in the game. Like, you're never going to be able to cleanly disengage for a fight if you're Execration.
And you've got a decent carrier in the Darkseer who now has both Mechanism and Pipe. I mean, all of this damage that you're looking for is just going to fall onto the little bubble of the Pipe of Insight. Like,
yeah, you start to ask yourself now, let's suppose you just give Magnus a Blink Dagger. Right now, just give it to him. Doesn't matter. Because now on the Dire side, there's just plenty of items to mitigate that damage.
It's very painful. Like, they just nowhere near the tier of damage output that they need to really be online in any capacity. I mean, yeah, you'll have Manta Style soon on Juggernaut. The Empower is nice for him, and that's pretty much that has been maxed out for a little while here. But in the end, even if you get the perfect initiation, if Darkseer is there with his counterplay, like it almost might just completely turn it back the other way.
And even on an individual hero basis, you're starting now. OD is going to have his Hurricane Pike here, flying out on the courier pretty soon. You're losing the ability even to initiate on a single core that might be out of position.
And that's where it gets very scary, when you really don't have any options left. Tier 1 tower given up for free up top, and DJ farming under a ward. Luckily doesn't get caught out immediately, but still a very dicey spot. They have their own obs up top, and even with that vision, they really can't do anything to stop these towers from falling.
And it really is. This game is just, it's a prime example of why we spend, when we break down these games, why we spend so much time talking about and thinking about these early game rotations. Because in this meta right now, when you get in a situation when both your supports are behind in levels, it handicaps so much of what you want to do.
Oh, and Sentry Ward scouting out Lumic here, but they're just going to make sure they get the full disengage. As long as that TP is successful. That TP gets interrupted, the Void opens up. But as it is, both disengaged from both sides, it looks like. And back to the status quo, which favors right now Clutch Gamers quite significantly.
I mean, do you want to do something crazy as Execration and try and like force a Roche and just try and get your RP in the pit? I mean, it just feels like you have to. It feels like you have to do something here as Execration, because you're not looking at a lineup with like some kind of huge late game advantage.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think punishing a clear objective when you have a really good idea of where CG is moving is important, and I think that's probably going to be their only way back into this. They can't just wait for CG to walk up to their high ground with the Aegis and everything. The problem is right now their vision is kind of lackluster. Right now CG are pretty well spread out, and intel on them is very scarce, so they don't actually know what the next move from CG is. Obviously they've been methodically taking these towers after towers, but after this tier 2 falls, like what's next?
And a little bit of hesitation too. I thought that they were just going to rotate right up and try and pick off that. No, they just don't have any kind of vision in the map to make this happen. Here's the Roche pit attempt that I was talking about.
There's no way this gets done in time. They have Empower, but it's still going to take so long.
I mean, but this is your Hail Mary, right? You just have to try and force a fight with your Magnus Blink Dagger, make something happen, because you don't have the kind of lineup where you can farm yourself back into the game.
Yeah, really tough position. Roche down to half HP with tier 2 already gone. Lines drawn. Smoke movement. Magnus has to be the gatekeeper here. He has to keep them out of the pit at all costs. It's too late. They're already in. That combo inside with the
what?
OD ultimate. There's just nothing left in the tank here. Gonna try to Manta dodge the glimpse. Will fail to do so. Gets caught in the Chronosphere and gets dropped down. Nothing doing, man. That is gonna be Execration taken down a notch once more, and a Roshan given for free to Clutch Gamers.
Like, I get what you're trying to do with Magnus picking up the top lane, but DJ isn't even in position to respond there. You got to have that clock ticking in your head, guys.
Just too much at this point. Clutch Gamers, they know exactly what's happening this game. They have a really good read on every movement. Execration, it's not just a resource advantage, it's a psychological one. Execration are down in the dumps.
I gotta tell you, man, this Clutch Gamer squad was a team that I didn't know much about coming into these qualifiers, and they dropped their first game. Yeah, okay, fine, it is to Faceless, but you're saying to yourself, all right, well, why'd this team get the invite? And then they come back in their last 2 games and do this. I mean, these are convincing wins over 2 teams that we know have some talent.
Absolutely. They've been able to showcase their skill in a lot of the recent online cups in SCA, and now just showing it for all it's worth here against Execration.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that too, because it to me it's been evident. If you look at some of the qualifier selections and even some of the things that determine the main the direct invites, it's been clear to me that Valve is looking a little bit more at online play, and I think that's really important for the health of the scene.
Oh, absolutely. So, especially for some of these regions that don't get to hit the lines up nearly as often enough.
Right.
So at this point, even an anti-Tinker Ward being dropped down by Dire just in case you get some tree action from the puck or anybody else just trying to keep the lanes pushed out. Because, I mean, that's the mindset you have to be in at this point in time, right? Like, you have to be worried. You have to be thinking, okay, well, the only way they can win the game right now is if they have backdoor protection down. They need creeps to do that. Let's keep the waves rolling. And so it's a pretty good prediction for Clutch Gamers to realize that Nando's going to be up here doing this exact thing, and that's something they can very well punish.
No, it's exactly what TNC failed to do in that marathon game earlier. You recognize the other team. The pressure right now is all on the other team. You know, we are not the ones that need to force the action. We just need to make sure that we're covering all our bases.
Indeed. So they're not actually going to be able to get the pick off despite pretty much the perfect vision setup, but they are moving the right direction here.
That's fine.
With some Invis. Another Invis rune, and along with that, the Shadow Blade can allow them to kind of go forward here and find out a Nyx Assassin under their own Sentry Ward. Who will they stun? How many will they get? Just the Nyx for now, and it's going to be the Void Chrono that trumps out the RP and allows the Sand King to go in for the full combo.
Bye!
I can't even read off the spells fast enough. They just comboed up perfectly. Everybody's ready to rock and roll. Full guns loaded. And that is just a hopeless exchange for Execration.
Yeah.
In fact, even desperation now, as it's going to be the Juggernaut who gets picked off. First off with a Centaur hoof stomp. And now going in with the 4-step blink. And Sand King picking him up.
You got to this is where you give serious thought to calling it. It's you gave it some effort, and I know there was a crazy game earlier where you held the 18-3 kill advantage, and the other team almost came back. But I just look at this Execration lineup and where they are right now, and the tools just aren't there.
Yeah, it's not just like 18-3 and what 60, 70 minutes.
No, the 18-3 game, there was a farmed Invoker and Ember Spirit on the other team. There's nothing like that on the side of Execration.
There really isn't, and it's in a 26-minute span that we're looking at this massive advantage, and it's just continues to get worse.
I'm deliberately not looking at the net worth graph. Oh my God. Yeah, no, don't show me that. Don't show me that.
Oh, nice double burrow. Very nice play forward with the vacuum as well. No OD ultimate, and he does get caught by the reverse polarity, but even then he's still alive and well, gets held up by the Guardian Greaves and goes back in with the surge. Going to be able to bring down the Nyx Assassin with Carapace only hitting at the last moment. They will dig on him down, but he's coming right back up. Aegis of the Immortal bringing him back into the fray and focusing down on their next target. At least for now, it looks like they do want to make sure that they protect their advantage, though. The comeback mechanics are a little strong here, and they have to play back a bit. So Nando pulls him back. They pull back Nando, and the Burrow Strike might be able to seal this one if the Yules isn't out fast enough. He uses it,
They're fine.
but he can't jaunt away.
I mean, you look at just on the side of Clutch Gamers, so much sustain, so much control. They have the ability, both within fights, and then the ability to just reset and come back in. Man, oh man, that's tough. And they're gonna have mid racks here pretty easily.
Well, it's definitely that's gonna be kind of the beginning of the end to an extent. I mean, the first step of the 3-step process, and with reverse polarity being just long enough of a cooldown, they actually might look for the second lane. They have Chronosphere. They don't have to be worried about RP, and they have BKB back up. I mean, there's not much to fear.
If you're, I mean, let me ask you: do you think if you're Execration right now, are you second guessing your draft?
That's a tough call.
I
think
I kind of don't think so. I think it's more that it's just more the early game.
Yeah, the maybe the Nick support pick.
Okay.
You might second guess that because that clearly didn't accomplish much at all this game, as we see. Just
I mean, just
pain.
Yeah,
pain incarnate.
Wombo combo.
Fully
after
visualized
wombo combo
before your eyes. Graphic 18 plus. Please look away. But
you got to believe Execration is just gathering themselves mentally, talking about what went wrong. You know, it's a long event. They got a lot more games to play.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and this is a team that has some experience. They're down their superstar player. That's obviously a glaring hole that they got to talk about replacing. But these are guys that know how to get it done, and especially DJ was, arguably the best player in the region last year.
Sandy's Eclipse stolen by Rubik. It's on cooldown. Oh, okay. He refreshes the spell steal.
Sure, why not?
Big RP coming out. It's going to be a very nice Burrow Strike, though. And though the Carapace is pretty strong in this environment, the BKBOD is stronger. But yeah, I really do feel like maybe the Knicks sticks out as a kind of odd pick. They'll look back at the replay, look at the vision game for the early on, and that will be something that they second guess quite a bit as far as why they didn't see certain roaming plays coming. But as a whole, it comes down to execution. It comes down to Clutch Gamers just being the better team in this best of one.
Yeah, it's just super promising things you see out of them when you talk about a matchup that was pretty even in paper coming in. I mean, this is not a game where you necessarily expect either side to dominate, and Clutch Gamers they had the game from start to finish. It's every bit as lopsided as the 31-4 score would indicate.
Absolutely. It's just, I mean, like halfway through, you could tell that it was a crapshoot for Execration to try to bring it back. And, Dota 2 is a game of mini comebacks. There's a lot of potential for it, but this was just too far gone. Honestly, Clutch Gamers just ran them over and turned this into just an all-out stomp.
How about the Dota so far in this region, though?
It's been
I gotta
sick,
say,
dude.
yeah,
Absolutely.
this is the first real blowout that I've seen.
Beyond my expectations by far. The games have been intense. They've been all lengthy, and in a meta that seems to be faster and faster, that just it just makes it so awesome, so fun to cast, and so fun to watch. Hopefully, you guys are enjoying here for our coverage of the Southeast Asian qualifiers of the Kiev Major. And now we've got a lot of different options for you guys. If you were looking at BTS 1, you just hopped over here. They're playing some EU Dota on BTS 1, 2, and 5. And then we've got still SEA Dota on 3 and 4. So a lot of action, a lot of games going on at once.
No sleep.
Yeah, no sleep for any one of us. But all the same, it's great to be here. It's been a lot of fun to cast with you, of course.
Always a pleasure, my friend.
So if you enjoyed it, @PlaysCasting, @NahazDota, and we will see you guys next time.